There is a world that exists that I didn't know about. People are buying CDs for $11,500. And they're compilations, like Christmas crooners. There's used Kylie Minogue CDs selling for $1,000. It doesn't compute in my brain. So I had to do some research. And I kind of stumbled across some stuff that I found interesting. And I think you are going to find it interesting because there's an entire world of CD collectors out there willing to spend more money on a Janet Jackson CD than they are on their kids' used Civic. I did a video about stupidly priced cassettes and what people are paying. And if you go to eBay, you can just type in cassette and then go to ended listings and sort them by price. So I had a weird kind of understanding that this existed, at least with cassettes. I had no idea that it existed with CDs. So we're going to talk about some ludicrous prices people are paying for compact discs. I'm going to make speculation about what's driving this madness. I'm going to talk about Beanie Babies. I'm going to talk about Funko Pops, comic books, baseball cards, and how the CD thing doesn't really make any sense at all. We're going to talk about companies that actually grade CDs. Okay? And how there's consolidation within that market that literally is 2 years old. We're going to talk about some of the psychology behind what drives people to spend so much money on this stuff. And finally, speculation about where do we go from here. Is this the used CD market that I didn't even know existed? Is that bubble going to burst? Probably. Christmas crooners, $11,500. Some Taylor Swift stuff going for $10,000. I don't understand it, but I kind of understand it because some of it is autographed. And, well, Taylor Swift is fairly popular. But Kylie Minogue CDs going for $999 used. What I don't get is Paul Weller, $11,500. And if anybody has an idea of why these things are so valuable, put it in the comments, because I literally thought I had a setting on eBay wrong and that I was in the wrong currency. I didn't think I was in US dollars when I saw 11,500. But it is US dollars. And what's behind all this behavior, this frenzy, used CD frenzy? Let's go to McDonald's, figure it out.
To read the net tomorrow to hear what people have to say about what we did. We have literally, there are 28 Beanie Babies in here when you consider retirement that can literally pay for everything right now. Yes, with what's happening with the retired prices. 94 different Beanie Babies, and if we could.
By the mid-1990s, Beanie Babies were a thing. QVC was shilling these things hard. And it's hilarious if you go back and watch some of these vintage QVC shows about Beanie Babies.
To hear what people have to say about what we did.
There was one that was called the Princess Beanie Baby, and supposedly it was connected with Princess Diana. Now that one still goes, you can still find those for sale for $50,000 on eBay. But the point is, there was a frenzy around Beanie Babies. People were investing in them, investor grade stuffed animals. This kind of gets to the psychology behind it though, as far as the manufactured collector culture. Because there's real collector culture, baseball cards, comic books, a variety of things that aren't made anymore. But when there are things being actually manufactured and limited to drive demand and drive the frenzy and create a whole narrative around this product, like Beanie Babies, like Funko Pops. It's just a company that understands people and psychology. McDonald's also ran a promotion with Beanie Babies called Teeny Babies, and those things sell for a lot of money too. Some people put their retirement into Beanie Babies, thinking that they would be able to flip them and retire early. It didn't work out for them. Funko! You've seen them. They're stacked up, and at some point, tons of them were being burned in landfills because they couldn't be sold. We have a place called Five Below. It's kind of like a dollar store, except it's $5 and below, even though stuff's more than $5. Anyway, I take the kids there when they want to buy something and I don't want to spend a lot of money. Funko Pops, all over that place. Marvel characters, Star Wars, Guy Fieri has a Funko Pop. Just like Beanie Babies, manufactured collector culture. Limited runs, retire the product, get people going crazy, and get them buying Funko Pops. And then people stopped buying Funko Pops, and they burned them in landfills. What drives collectors? Well, it's rarely about the thing that they're collecting and more about them. What does this John Mellencamp cassette say about me? Scarecrow. Means I'm a connoisseur. It means I'm a Midwesterner. Something like that. Who knows what it says? Psychologically, people collect things for identity, for control, for the dopamine hit. Oh my gosh, I found it. Now the collection shall be complete. My rare Christmas compilation crooner collection. Volume 3. It's now complete. My life is complete. Even Starbucks gets in on it with their limited tumblers. Because if it's only available for a limited time, we want to get it. I want to get it. I do the same thing though. This is a Metallica box set. Limited time. Nike does it with sneaker drops. That's another thing I do not understand is sneakers, collecting sneakers. And they're crazy expensive. I guess it's the same exact thing. When I figure out sneakers, I guess I'm gonna figure out CDs. Now, companies have figured it out. Tell a heartfelt story. Put a timer up on the wall. Get someone calling in from Ohio that this one little Beanie Baby completes their life. Now we have a relatable story. I'm just like that person from Ohio. Maybe if I get the Beanie Baby, it's gonna fill that hole within me and I'll feel better finally. And also, they leaned into what this means about if you have this whole collection, it's a flex. You don't need no limited edition Nikes. Put that Beanie Baby on your shoulder. However, eventually the Beanie Baby bubble burst. This feels like murky waters, though, because, well, I still have all these from when I was a kid, comic books. So, I don't know if I'm being hypocritical when I make fun of CD collecting because obviously I collected these as a kid and they have enough emotional meaning to me now. I still keep them on the shelf. And with comic books and baseball cards or sports cards, there's a acceptability in that because it's, I think, commonplace. This is a Wolverine, #1. Who knows how much that's worth? Talk about a bygone era. That's a Star Wars comic with Lando Calrissian smoking a cigarette on the cover, maybe a cigar. And in this case, a lot of these collectibles actually hold their value. However, even Marvel Comics, Topps and Fleer figured it out. There was a Spider-Man comic when I think Todd McFarlane was the artist. They printed 6 different covers of it, so people like me would go and buy the same comic book 6 different times. I remember telling my dad, because I was collecting these comic books in the 80s and 90s, I told him, Dad, this is worth X amount. And he said, you know what, Randy? That comic book is only worth as much as someone is willing to pay for it. I'm like, no. This price guide says otherwise, Dad. However, when I was in college, I went to sell my comic books, and in my head, I had a figure that I thought all of it was worth. I was even coming off that a little bit, what they were really worth. The dude didn't even want him at the comic book store. He said maybe, I think I had some Spawn comics. He says, maybe I'll take the Spawns, and I'll give you like $1 a piece for them. And I'm like, they aren't worth anything. But there were at least companies like CGC for comics and Beckett. Remember the Beckett price guide? And there was continuity because people have been collecting comics and baseball cards for decades. Like 70 years at this point. There's a paper trail. There's precedent. But guess what? Now there's people grading CDs. Apparently they're putting them in what's called a slab, which is a plastic case. And there's some new companies that just popped up. And when I say just popped up, I'm talking about within the last 3 years. Audio Media Grading, AMG, was launched in 2023 by DJ entrepreneur Steve Aoki, partnering with Collective Archive Services, CAS. They grade vinyl, CDs, cassettes, and even 8-tracks. They promise grading, preservation, and authentication. By March of 2024, AMG massively expanded by acquiring Tuned In Grading, which is apparently a Dallas startup. Of course it is. In 2022, known for grading and encapsulating vinyl with patent-pending systems. When you hear patent pending, doesn't that make you feel like they're legit? What it really means is they know how to file paperwork. Imagine this though, outside of AMG, well, the CD grading market's not very big. It's a bit niche, shockingly. With comic books, there's multiple companies out there, people that were agreeing on how this thing should be graded. Should be 8 or 9, 6.5, who knows? But at some point, someone's going to agree with it. However, a little bit fishy when there's like one big company that's basically the CD collecting kingmaker. Now, even though in my father's grand wisdom, he thought these were garbage, they kind of are, that's the point. They're garbage. They're made of paper. Baseball cards are made of thicker paper, and they're kids stuff. Hey, I would read them and then I would throw them in the corner of my room, and I would get gum out of the Topps baseball cards and we would trade them and it would be dusty and we wouldn't appreciate them. So very few of these things actually survived in decent shape. So there's rarity and scarcity. I understand that CDs that are out of print are also scarce and rare. But that was a bit of a more robust product when compared to ink on newsprint or printed cardboard. So is the CD bubble gonna burst like the Beanie Baby bubble and the Funko Pop bubble? Probably. I mean, there's always gonna be Grateful Dead stuff like Beatles, truly rare stuff. There was some Slipknot CDs that were selling for thousands of dollars. But to be fair, there's a lot of Slipknot fans and a lot of crazy Slipknot fans. Now, I didn't spend $3,000 on a limited edition Slipknot CD, but there's people out there that are doing it. What I don't understand is the Kylie Minogue stuff that's not sealed, that's used. But the weird esoteric stuff? No way can that stuff. Who's buying this stuff? I mean, it's not like vinyl. Fundamentally, vinyl, every time a record is pressed, it's different because it has a stamper, right? Even though they're very similar, it's still different. And eventually, that stamper wears out and it has to be replaced. And there's only so many mothers and fathers that they can get out of a lacquer disc. So sometimes the lacquer discs have to be recut and the process starts all over again. So with vinyl, there is true differentiation, true rarity, even amongst the same pressing. So I get it. I don't get CDs. If there's an emotional tie to something, then there's inherent value. But when a company creates that emotional tie, like with Beanie Babies, then there's no value. It's just people's feelings being manipulated. And I wonder if that's going on here. But I don't know. There's a whole world of crazy CD collectors out there that I have no idea about. And I do this for a living. So if you're thinking about cashing out your 401k to invest in some Pat Benatar unopened CDs in the long box, I don't know. You might want to ask yourself, what would my dad say? If you like this video, check out my video about stupid, expensive cassettes that people are paying for too. I'll link that right here.
This